but for what it was at the time, I mean, I spent 90 grand on that system
Yeah.
that today I wouldn't spend $1 for. As good as that product was, I literally wouldn't spend $1 on it.
Welcome, Michael Neff.
Dude, thank you for having me. This is great. I
Thank you
love this
for.
place.
I love having you here in town.
Yeah,
Every time you
yeah,
come into town, I'm like, yes, let's go.
yes,
Let's nerd
yes,
out a little bit.
yeah,
So, for everyone at home, Michael Neff is the founder of Gears Sports. It's one of the most amazing systems I've seen in being able to use 3D biomechanics, 3D cameras to analyze the golf swing.
yeah,
And obviously, it feeds into other sports. I know that you
sure.
do other sports now as
Yep,
well. So maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got here,
yeah.
how you became the founder, how you've ended up at this place tonight.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Nick. You and I are good friends now. We've known each other for
Yeah.
a while, and I love Aussies. Aussies are like happy Brits. As that sounds like
Happy
kind
Brits.
of that's kind of how I see it. But
Yeah, miserable from the
um,
weather.
we kind of cross paths through Cam,
Yep.
and Grant. Grant has become a really close friend of mine and a great coach,
Yeah.
and he's done a great job with Cam Smith and you've done a great job with him, and you got a really cool team, and I'm honored to be part of that. And so, but Gears is an optical motion capture system. It's a 9 to 10 camera system that uses reflective markers. The new hybrid system, we don't have as many markers. We're doing some markerless work and we're doing some markered work. But basically, it's a very accurate system. It's the only system that does body and club at the same time. So you get all the body data and all of the club data, not just the club head or not just the grip, but we get the shaft movement. We see what the bulge and roll and the club are. We see where the ball touches with research grade accuracy.
Yeah.
Your cameras in your lab are being currently used today by NASA to measure the vibration on the space shuttle.
I didn't know
So
that.
yes, so it's a very accurate system, and that's accuracy is our whole story. And we'll dive into that a little bit as we go through this. But
Yeah.
I worked. My background, I'm a PGA professional. I live in Portland, Oregon. I have 5 kids. Love life and very blessed. And my when I was working in the golf business as a teaching pro, one of my friends at TaylorMade, or one of my friends that worked for Nike in Portland, Oregon, which
Yep.
I'm where I'm from,
Yep.
he got hired at TaylorMade, and when Adidas bought TaylorMade,
Okay.
and they brought him in, and he introduced me to this new product called the MAT system, which is a motion capture system.
Yep.
It was 20 years, 17 years ago, something like that. And I just immediately fell in love with it. I was one of the first to buy one. I spent $90,000 on it. I took a mortgage out on my house. My
Yeah.
wife and I'm a golf pro, so I don't make that much money.
Yep.
So I literally convinced my wife somehow to take a loan out on our home to buy a $90,000 motion capture system 20 years ago.
Risky.
Risky. Yeah, I put it all on the line. But I sold $1 million worth of golf equipment and lessons in 1 year.
Damn.
And I paid that off very quickly. And that was like a real big story for me where, hey, look, if you really invest heavily and you learn, you work hard at something and I I think you can invest heavily and take risks. But that was a risk that paid off for me because I really learned how the body works and how the body and the club work together.
Yep.
So there's a lot of 3D systems out there that do body data.
Yep.
There's some launch monitors, obviously, that do the club data, but both of them attached together at the wrist so we can see where the body's doing, what the wrists are doing, what that wrist movement is doing to the grip, what that grip movement is doing to the shaft,
Yep.
what that shaft movement is doing to the club head and how it delivers to the ball and where that ball touches the face with the bulge and roll of the actual bulge and roll of the club. That's what we're providing at a research grade level. So I think that's really the power. We're trying to. My goal here was to really to marry the world of club fitting and instruction together, because right now, as I see it, they're being pulled apart.
Yep.
I think more and more teachers are not doing club fitting, and more club fitters are not doing teaching, and I just see a very big
Yeah.
disconnect there.
It's so hard though, because like even like in a facility like this, like I desperately want to get a club fitting area,
Yeah,
but space and equipment, and we've already
Yeah.
injected so much money into different sections of this, to then go and outlay a whole area for even just checking lofts and lies is really,
Yeah.
really hard. So, I think when there's a lot of people in golf now that are somewhat specialists, or everyone's got that place in their town that they go to change a shaft, or
Yep.
get a new head, or check the lofts and lies, etc. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that they're going to do a job that's really, really good, but I think there's, like you said, a lost art form there, where the marriage of all of those, was kind of special, because
Yeah.
now we just don't even touch it. It's like, oh no, if you want that, you go to that
Go that
person, you
place.
go,
Yeah.
they'll do it for you at a really
You,
good level, and
I'm
bring it back.
I'm not suggesting that teachers need to do it, but teachers
No,
do need to know what's being
yeah,
done, and they need to know why it's being done, so that they can manage that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to do it, but
of
I
course, yeah,
think it's really important how players will react to a club, or how a club reacts to a player movement, and both those things are kind of happening at the same time.
and
And some people might react differently to different stuff, and we're measuring all of that
yeah,
at research grade level, and that's so we've learned so much. We've captured hundreds and hundreds of PGA and LPGA professionals all over the world.
yeah,
We have data now. The value of we so I basically, once I worked for TaylorMade with that so I immediately went to work for TaylorMade as a consultant. I had to have that product. I basically stopped teaching at the Oregon Golf Club,
yep,
and I went directly into kind of
consulting
this
almost. It's yeah,
consulting
yep,
motion capture world, and we moved about 100 systems for TaylorMade, and as a consultant there, and we sold millions of dollars worth of golf equipment for TaylorMade, and I learned a lot about the golf club. I learned a lot about the shaft. I learned a lot about um, how the body's moving those things. And then the company that made that system got a contract with the United States government defense department, and they went into kind of military training, motion capture, virtual reality kind of stuff, and they stopped uh, supporting the golf system. So that kind of like, okay, well, what do I do now? I just,
yeah,
what do I do now? So I went to OptiTrack, which is the largest optical motion capture company in the world. They're out of Corvallis, Oregon, which is not far from me. And I developed a relationship there. And the gear system was created. GEAR stands for Golf Evaluation and Research System. And so for the last 10 years or so, we've been updating the product. The big difference between the gear system and the mat system was we didn't have a fast enough camera and a high enough megapixel in that motion capture camera with the mat system to be able to get the shaft movement, the subtle movements of the shaft. Um, the frame rate and the megapixel count was not high enough.
yep,
And once that system got to about 100, 105 miles per hour, it started to kind of degrade the data, and we never really were able to get the shaft data that well.
yep,
Um, but for what it was at the time, I mean, I spent 90 grand on that system
yeah,
that today I wouldn't spend $1 for. As good as that product was, I literally wouldn't spend $1 on it. Um, but now we have this fast cameras that are
yeah,
much less expensive. Gears cost 30 grand right now.
yep,
It's soup to nuts. It's really, and it's 4 times the frame rate. It's 4 times the resolution. We are research grade up to about 165 miles per hour, which no human can swing that fast yet. I mean,
yet,
I'm not sure. Maybe there might be some guy in New Zealand that can do it, or
yeah,
some
yeah.
Russian dude or something. I don't know,
Someone's
but
yoking it to the max.
somebody's
Yeah,
milking it,
yeah,
But anyways, so that's so we developed the gear system, and once we got that camera right. I mean, it was really hard to get that. Once that camera, we
yeah,
got that resolution high enough, then we can really see those subtle movements of how the shaft moves, and then we validate that with a phantom camera that can go up to 1 million frames per second,
damn.
and that's how we know how accurate we are.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And obviously you and I talked a little bit about the difference, and then like we can talk about the history of and the development
Yeah.
of gears over time, but even just over the last year, between having a full market body versus now your
Hybrid.
a hybrid system.
Yeah.
Even that is leaps and bounds difference
Sure.
from what it was 12 months ago. So
Yeah.
we have a ninth camera now, which
Yep.
is amazing.
Yep.
The setup time for someone is 2 minutes
Yep.
max. You basically put a waistband around with reflective markers on them, 4 of them. We set up a hat. You obviously got the clubs already dialed in, and then you're ready to go. So it's
Yeah. The markerless technology has really improved over the last few years. We have tried, so if I could have a world where I didn't have to wear markers on the club or the body,
yeah,
and I can get all of my data with this type of accuracy, that would be ideal.
yeah,
You know, the real trick is how do you, if you don't have 9 cameras, or if you don't have a camera surrounding you,
yeah,
then there's a lot of blind spots. And if there's blind spots, then you have to rely on AI to kind of like, okay, well, let's guess
yeah.
what's happening in those blind
It's like the
spots.
inference in and around that
And then you
space.
inference around, and you need a lot of really good data to train that AI.
Yeah,
So we have millions of golf swings on gears with research grade marker tracking and joint tracking. So
yeah,
we were able to basically, over the last couple of years, we've been developing our AI kind of hybrid system. Even with all that data and all the data that we have 4 cameras that are tracking markerlessly and 5 cameras that are tracking the markers in gears.
yeah,
Even with 4 cameras video, we're still not able to get the pelvis really dialed. The pelvis in markerless world, the pelvis rotation is very difficult to get because of those blind spots I was referring to.
yeah,
The head and neck area are a little tricky too. But that pelvis in particular is really hard for markerless systems to get right. And so what we did was we put markers on the belt.
yep,
And that's a convenient place to put it because the player doesn't feel them.
yeah,
Um, and then we had to put markers on the hat too, and that took care of the neck problem
yep,
and the challenge that we have with that. Now what we're doing is that we call that the hybrids. So we have markers on the club, markers on the belt, markers on the hat. The customer doesn't feel them. It's very easy to use, as you said. It's very
yeah.
quick, and we haven't cut any corners. We still have the same accuracy that we do with our full system.
So this is a good question because I mean, there's a lot of like we've even built our own app, right? That gives us a stick figure. It kind of superimposes a stick figure over an athlete swinging, and it gives us some funky data that is not accurate, but it's kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of systems out there that now, like I'm not going to name any, but systems that do 2D cameras and camera behind, potentially camera, face on,
Sure.
and we're looking at systems like that, and then they're telling us that it might be similar, to something that is extremely competent or reliable in its information. And I'm like, oh, I've got a very, very expensive system in there that might tell you otherwise. What is the difference between these systems?
Okay. So good question. And think of it like blind spots.
Yeah.
So the more cameras you have, the less blind spots you have, the less you have to guess. And as fast as AI is improving, and I think I do see a world where we could, eventually get to the point where we can get pretty decent data with fewer cameras.
Yeah.
But even then, it's the more blind spots you have,
Yeah.
the more you have to guess. And so I don't know. You're building a state of the art studio here. You're working with the best players in the world. You're trying to coach up and coming players. You want amateurs to be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
You're just all about performance here. I mean, what you've built here is insanely cool. Like you're going very high tech. You're doing amazing screenings. So if my rotational numbers are, let's say I'm really 10 degrees open, but my system says I'm 20 degrees. Well, 10 degrees doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Well, 10 degrees rotation can change the club path 7 or 8 degrees.
Yeah.
It can. And so if my system is telling me that I'm only 10 degrees, but I'm really 20 degrees, and the club path is saying, hey, you're actually left, and you're like, okay, how does that work? And I need more turn. That's going to make it go more left. And now I'm fighting a system. So I think that to answer your question, if you have a face on, one camera face on, and I'm just standing there doing a jumping jack,
Yep.
and you wanted to see how much my arms are moving, or if I do a deep squat and I'm just looking face onto that camera,
One.
some of those numbers are going to be pretty good.
Yep.
You know, you're probably going to get some pretty decent just lift up and down motion numbers.
Yep.
But the body moves very differently than that. It's not going to pick up the rotation very well. It's not going to pick up the sway quite as well, and it's definitely going to have its weak spots. So the more data we have,
Yep.
right,
Yep.
the more angles we have of what we're looking at, just the more accurate we're going to be.
And this
So
is
that's to you know, and I don't like to say bad things about people or people other products. So
yeah.
I just, when people ask me about that, I usually don't comment. I
Yeah.
just say blind spots. I'm going to die on my accuracy hill, and I can prove it all day long. So
I think
like if that's where I'm standing.
when you've built a research grade software, hardware package that does what yours does, it's very hard to accept anything less. It's like I have a really, really good coffee machine in there.
Yeah.
And it does a really good coffee. To accept anything less than that, which I've had a very, few poor coffees out of, is just like, it could just be better. So every time you use a different system and it doesn't give you the results that what, you've already got with your system, it's very hard to then go, if you just had that bit more information, if you just had a faster frame rate, if you just had that extra bit of software or kit, and you could actually see what it's actually doing, rather than being like, there's still a question in the air about what that's actually doing.
Yeah, and I would say that, it's not the end all be all. I mean, if the markers aren't put on correctly, or if for some reason there's the wrong exposure or whatever you're doing, I mean, there's and the other thing is that we're indoor here, so like going indoor to outdoor, sometimes there's a little bit different. We've taken the weight off the club to now we're like less than 10 grams now of overall weight and less than a swing weight, which is the best any 3D system's ever been able to do with the equipment. You still have, it's not the end all be all. Gears is a great product. It's helps put the pieces of the puzzle together, but you still have to go out and play the game.
Sure.
It's not the cure all for improving in golf. However, it does show you things under the hood that you cannot see with the naked eye, period. And it will help solve, and we do this every day with the best players in the world. When you can get data that you can't see with the naked eye and it's accurate, and you're able to show, hey, wait a second, the difference between this and that change happened. Now you can explain that, and you see very quick results, very good results, fast. We have got troves of data to show this, of how fast the best players in the world get better on gears. Like the number of stories of before and after stories on gears with tour players is staggering. And I'm terrible at marketing, and I don't like to brag. I really don't. But I'm telling you, and that's a big part of our weakness. Our weakness at Gears is that we don't have. I'm not a social media guy. I mean, but if you really want to go track like our before and after stories, everybody would buy Gears. I'm just terrible at.
Well, that's the hard part, right? So like if I provide an intervention to an athlete, whether it be a strength conditioning program, a rehab program, or a therapeutic program, or some sort of science-based intervention that we're trying to get change, it's really, really hard to show the smallest worthwhile changes that are accurate to meaning that intervention or that plan had any difference or any change. So if you see, that's why we assess. We do a baseline assessment. You provide an intervention to create some sort of change, and then you reassess, and then you figure out what happened from A to B, and whether or not it was attributed to what you provided them. And so it just makes sense to have research grade equipment with a professional doing their craft and perfecting their skill set. You're able to see what they are like now, what their coach gives them, or what we decided to give them in here to try and create that change, and then where they've ended up at the end of that intervention. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer in my head.
I agree, and I think what you guys do here, like, so the 3D system shows you what the swing is doing. You also can do those assessments in
Yeah,
3D, which you
yeah,
do a very good job here, figuring out what your body can do,
yeah,
and then matching up what your body can do with
yeah.
what the swing is doing. That's what you do here, I think. And I've been all around the world. I don't see anybody taking this much attention to detail on getting uh, body screens, trying to match up your body movement to your functional movement to
Yeah.
your performance movement. I think what you've built here is just I have yet to see it, and it's panning out. Like I think you have a really good your players win on the PGA Tour and on Live Tour, and obviously there's a secret to success. You have to have a good body to have a repeatable
Yeah.
swing for 4 days during a tournament
Yeah.
and to win at that level. I mean, your body just has to be in. So gears is great. It's a great tool, but you still need a symmetrical body. You can't
Yeah.
have, one right leg that doesn't do internal and the left does, and all of a sudden your body
Yeah.
on the golf course, if you get these bad mechanics, all of a sudden your body breaks down. You just do such a good job of balancing that out. And so I think I'm so excited what you're doing here because you're just building this beautiful start to finish. It's not just about the swing. It's not just about the clubs. It's not just about the fitness. It's all of it together. We're bringing this together. You're trying to marry all these great technologies and it's just such a beautiful place too. So I'm
Good stuff.
really honored to be here. And I think you're going to get a lot of great, I think Gears is going to help you
Yeah.
kind of validate your great physical work.
It,
I
it
think it's going to be a marriage there.
it's been a fun system to use because it's definitely broadened my horizons in relation to like what I know about the golf swing
Yeah,
now compared to what I thought I did
yeah,
anyway. And I'm really excited to see that educational process
yeah,
continue as well because I'm definitely not a pro at it yet. I will be in the future, but
yeah,
at the same time, now matching up everything else that we've got in house to the results of that system
yeah,
is exciting.
yeah,
Can geek out on
yeah.
it.
Club and body.
Yeah.
It's not just fitness. It's not just instruction. It's not just club fitting. It's all of it. You need it all if you want to be the best in the world
Uh, I mean,
or the best at your club
yeah,
or
yeah,
anything. It's not
exactly.
just you're not just doing tour players here. You're doing everybody. So it's great.
Do you see common misinterpretations of swing data and how to avoid them? Like, do you
Yeah.
like people will naturally want to swing to certain things, or like when they see a certain, or let's just say even like without gears, coaches will naturally want to, say a certain thing that will mean
Yeah.
a certain position within the golf swing. And you're like, well, actually, when we see that on our 3D system, it's actually something different. Do you see a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
that?
a great question. And I think every golf pro watching this would say, "Well, I already know that. I'm not saying that they don't know what they're doing here." So
Yeah,
this is very important. Like
yeah, yeah,
what I'm going to say is not rocket science,
yeah,
okay? So there are some things though that we see under the hood that might be hard to see with video that we were just with Todd Anderson and Billy Horschel today.
yeah,
And Todd Anderson's a top coach in the world and he picked up on so many things without video without 3D.
yeah,
And he's like, I've seen this, but I just didn't know quite what was going on. And we picked up a couple of things that you couldn't quite see with the naked eye, but he's a smart enough coach. Grant Field,
yeah,
Cam's coach, same way. They're smart enough. They have a strong enough backbone
yeah,
to ask questions without feeling like they're going to lose their player.
yeah,
The smartest thing a player could do is hire a coach that is willing to ask questions and learn as much as they can about that swing.
yeah,
So if you're a coach and you can't learn anything because you're so stubborn or your ego can't handle it and you're just so stuck in your way and you're not willing to learn, your player will suffer from that. And I don't care if you're Tiger Woods or your player's Tiger Woods, at some level, they just you can help your student by getting more information. Whether you give that to them is up to you. But like the more data you have, the more information you have, the better coach you're going to be. So I think that like that's a big thing for me. I see some common things Mostly it is most amateurs, they on the backswing, they thrust towards the ball with the pelvis, so their pelvis moves towards the ball, and then they lift the club up, and then the club comes down too steep, and they're trying to create room because they've moved towards the ball, and the club comes down too steep, and the handle raises, and the shaft droops a lot, and the face opens. And every teacher that teaches this game knows exactly what I'm talking about. This is not rocket science. What Gears does that might be different than just traditional video is once you make that change and you can overlay those two images on top of each other and add all that data, the real benefit is it helps you see visually because the avatars are so good and you can overlay those things so well and you can see what really is changing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of Gears and or just 3D in general is that you're not just telling your students something. They actually you can't hide from it. You know, the student can see what's happening and it validates what you're teaching them. So that's the value of 3D. And most common, the club's coming down too steep almost always. And I also see a lot of common problems in instruction where people are trying to shallow the club or lower the club with side bend, where they'll kind of tilt the upper body back to get the club behind them. And what that does is it creates kind of this kind of stuck position where you do get better club path, but now my body is in a tilty, thrusty kind of, it makes it harder for it to rotate. So those are some common things that I'm seeing, out in the golf industry. I also see that there's this massive rush to vertical, ground force reaction. There's this, I need more verticals to get more distance. Well, I think if you're chasing that, you got to be careful that doesn't kill the other things that are important. And it could get some more power, but it might also create some other problems.
Yeah.
And you have to watch out for that. So that's a trend I'm seeing right now in the golf industry is people are chasing verticals to get more distance. And, that can actually backfire.
For sure. And what you said something to me a while ago, which really resonated. And I'll get you to explain it about, if you go too far in one force or, you take away from the others.
Yeah.
Explain that to me again.
Yeah, sure. So the body, all the joints in the body move in what's called 6 degrees of freedom, 6 DOF. So thrust, sway, lift, turn, bend, side bend. So like we could talk about side bend as like tilting. Thrust would be moving back and forth towards the ball. Sway would be moving back and forth towards the target. Lift, up and down, turn, and basically all those joints are, when you push one of them too far, you're robbing something else. If you lift too much, it's going to be hard to sway. If you turn too much, it's going to be hard to lift.
Yeah.
It's and sway.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is match everything up at the end of the day. I want a player to get the club in a position where they can be as aggressive as possible and be very symmetrical. So I don't want thrust. I don't want a lot of sway. I don't want a lot of side bend. I want the tilts and turns to match. I want the club to match. I want everything to match. I'm into neutral and I'm into very aggressive.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of success doing that. And I think the body just works better when it's in a neutral position and it can rotate and the club can really sling through and that generate all that good stuff that we want it to do. Make sure that the club's right, the length, the lie, loft, all those things matching up. I'm just trying to match it all up. And when you push one direction too much sway, you're robbing the other one. So it's a tug of war. The body has a tug of war and each one of the joints are fighting in one direction, the other direction. They're all just kind of moving around.
Yep.
And there's so much happening that it's extremely hard to process all of it. And I'm not saying that a coach has to, or a student has to know everything that's going on, but a coach should be able to diagnose that, filter it in a way that the student can understand it and apply it to the golf course, not just the range, but it has to translate to the golf course. At the end of the day, we're playing golf. We're not practicing golf for a living.
Yeah.
I've had players come to me that are just like, I'm going to try something. I think they literally just get bored and they just try stuff because they're bored, and
Serial
they love
tinkerers.
golf so
Yeah, yeah,
much
yeah.
that they just go try stuff just to try stuff,
I know a few of
or
those.
they try clubs, and they're, it's more of a hobby, and they're bored. They're just trying stuff just to have something to do,
Yeah,
and they're not even playing golf good.
yeah,
They're not, they're not. They
yeah.
just want to practice and do crazy stuff, and there's actually
Put themselves
so I don't
in
know.
some
I
interesting
think
positions.
that's kind of in a nutshell. But I am seeing some trends
Yeah.
in the game right now where we're seeing people chase verticals too much, and I think that the body symmetries can get out of whack pretty easily that way.
Well, I looked when I was, my earlier days, I was like, well, how does the body create speed? If we, as, sports scientists or strength and conditioning coaches, are trying to increase the ability for someone to move the club head at a faster mile per hour, range, what are we going to do to help that
Yeah.
process, right? Do we make the body stronger? Do we give it different physical attributes? Do we give them a longer club? We went down this, pathway a long time ago, and then, when you start, if you don't understand the biomech, I'm not even going to say the biomechanics. It's the marriage of all of those components of the golf
Yeah.
swing, the positions you get put in, you know, the forces that are you're trying to create, but are also working against you.
Yep.
How your equipment might manipulate that, and with especially when you're trying to keep it somewhat on the fairway, it's a really difficult task.
Yeah.
So if you are too much vertical or too much horizontal, or you don't have enough sway, or you've got too much thrust, all these things, they're like easy pillars to begin with, to have a look at, being like, if we just pull back on one or push a little bit more the other way, how much does that affect the swing, in a positive manner, because it's working more efficiently and effectively. You did nothing from a physical attribute standpoint. You didn't make them stronger. You didn't go through a hypertrophy phase, and yet they're swinging it faster because their body's more efficient. They're more neutral. They're more symmetrical,
Yep.
and it's a nicer it's a nicer swing.
Yeah, I think that, like, the answer to, I think as golf coaches, we want to get more speed, and everybody wants more speed. And sometimes we might use our force plates and do some kind of scissoring moment
Yeah,
and get more AP, and all of a
yeah,
sudden the speed goes up, and like, hey,
yeah.
we
Sweet
got 3 more
success.
miles an hour. Great. Three,
Yeah,
that's 10 yards. I did
yeah,
it. You did it. Well, let's careful there.
yeah,
Did we create another problem? And did we create, kind of a monster there?
yeah,
Or but there's other ways to create speed than just by going,
yeah,
torque
yeah,
in the ground force. There's other ways we can get more speed by getting the club head farther away from the ball.
yeah,
The farther that travels, I can break at different places where I can,
yep,
if I break differently, if I want to get the upper body a little bit more on the transition, I want to get the upper body a little bit in front of my lower body. And then I have that kind of moment of inertia, or
yep,
moment arm to kind of pull against, and then that
yep,
generates a lot of speed. There's a lot of ways to get speed, but we have to get it the right way. We have to manage the motion and the speed together. I also think that we need to get speed through equipment too,
yeah,
through ball speed. And a lot of times when we're chasing clubhead speed, we don't keep the ball speed where it needs to be. And that ball speed, there's a lot of ways to affect that ball speed through equipment. And I think that you need to have all these things. We need the ball to launch and land at the right angles. We need it to have the right amount of speed. The more consistent we can deliver that club face to the middle of that club to the ball, um, the player, even if he's not that fast, if I'm hitting the same shot over and over again, I'm going to play better golf because I know how the ball is going to react on the green.
mm-hmm,
I know what's going to happen because I'm hitting the same spot over and over again.
yep,
So it's not just a matter of just let's get more speed, more speed. We're this generation of, like, we're just obsessed with speed, and I want more speed too. And I almost, if we do it right, we're going to get more speed.
yep,
But I don't want to lose ball speed. I want it all.
yeah,
I'm not going to rest until I have it all in symmetry,
yeah,
where I guess the best place where I feel like I want my players to be as aggressive as possible when they're playing golf. So in order to do that, the club has to be in the correct spot. The body has to be really neutral. If I'm tilting one direction or the other, or if I'm going too lifty, I'm gonna have to I'm going to probably have to rob something to get to that.
Yep.
And then I lose something else to get to that.
Right.
So it's this vicious cycle of I want symmetry. I want to get the player neutral as possible. I want to be able to be as aggressive as possible. And I want to be able to deliver that ball speed and loft and spin as consistently as possible. That always works. That's what the best players in the world do. That's how they're able to get distance control. Like distance control, spin control. That is such a huge thing that just gets overlooked so much by amateurs.
Yeah.
And we're just chasing speed, and we can get speed in more efficient ways for sure.
100%. And I think more from like a high performance standpoint, like low hanging fruit too. Like what's the best bang for buck? Is dealing with a little bit of equipment change a lot easier than 6 months worth of conditioning, physically, a lot of physical therapy to try and get you into positions that you're not currently getting put in or accessing. And it's like, yeah, well, you already do your skill set to a very high degree. Maybe the equipment is the little bit of a better answer. Like
equipment can. Now I hear this. Well, hey, look, I can teach anybody to swing any club. The equipment, it doesn't. You're just buying a game, right? I mean, I have a great example of this of a PGA Tour player who arms are a little bit longer, right? Their wingspan is a little bit longer. And I put him on gears and clubs literally 4 degrees upright. This guy's won 3 times on tour. Standard length, standard lie clubs, short guy. And so obviously we saw thrust, we saw handle raising.
Yeah.
He has to lean the shaft a lot to keep the ball from hooking. I said, dude, so how did you win? Like, if your clubs are that draw bias and you hit that big of a draw, and he's like, when I played my best, I felt like I was just dragging the handle, holding the face as long as I could, and I would just hit these little push draws right to the middle of the green, and I just got hot with the putter. That's when I won. But he's like, even though I won those tournaments, I still had to drag the club around to keep it from hooking. I've always fought that. I've never been able to feel like I could release the club. I've never felt like I can go AP. I never felt like I can, get rid of that thrust. I never felt like I could turn without the ball going off the golf course left. I mean, this guy's won $25 million playing this game. And he said, I've never, even when I play my best golf, I feel like I'm dragging the crap out of it. That's how I kind of fight it. So as he's getting older, he's like, I'm starting to lose some speed. I feel like it's going my block. I'm having these blocks. And so one could look at that and say, hey, look, he's won a lot of money. He's one of the best players ever to play the game, yada, yada, yada. I mean, not in top 200 players to ever play our game, somewhere in there, I'd say probably. And, he just kind of his whole career learned how to manage that problem.
Yep.
Yeah. Always been a low spin player.
Yep.
Never been able to get enough spin on the ball. He's like, I've lost tournaments because I've hit some left shots, guaranteed. Yeah. He's like, I've lost tournaments because I've hit some left shots and made double when I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So he's like, I honestly think if I would have had a little better ball flight, a little more spin, I think I would have won some tournaments that cost me. So equipment, as much as we want to say, oh, I can teach anybody to do anything, it doesn't matter. Yep. It might not matter that much, but it can matter a ton.
Yeah.
Like a lot. So this player, I literally flattened his clubs significantly. And I said, I want you to hit it as high as you can. I want you to hit it as hard as you can. Be as aggressive as possible. Ball speed goes through the roof. Hook lies, don't overhook now. Rough, really tough. He struggled his whole career out of the rough because the club's coming in so upright. Like everything's low left with no spin on it. And he's just good enough to know how to aim for that problem. He knows when he's in the rough, he's going to aim right and it's going to hook left. He knows that.
Yep.
And if you're good enough to manage that, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't fix that though. If he didn't have to manage that problem, he would be able to be way more aggressive out of the rough.
Yeah.
So, I'm really happy with the results that we're getting out of that. These are the kind of results where we get like guys, making a small change like this and gaining 3 shots tee to green the very next event, and you know things like that. So like we get these very dramatic results very quickly that that even the best players in the world can get.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's equipment, sometimes it's instructions, sometimes it's a little bit of both, but they marry each other. So in his case, his equipment change of flattening the golf club allowed him to turn more.
Yeah.
And now we got rid of all that thrust, more rotation, ball launch way higher. So the big challenge for him is now he's got to get used to the ball not hooking, which is a challenge because now it's going farther
Yeah.
and it's spinning more.
Yep.
And his distance control is now going to be something he has to kind of get rid of. So it's, or be more consistent with. He's like, I'm not changing this. It's the best I've ever hit it in my life. I'm 42 years old, never hit it this good ever.
Now the tactical components are
Now
going
I
to match
have to
up.
go
Yeah.
figure out how much that ball carries into the wind on Bermuda versus altitude, all this stuff. So, it's a constantly evolving game, but equipment can make a huge difference, and it might not make that much of a difference depending on the player. But, that's what we're so good at, being able to measure all that stuff.
Yeah. That's good. There's a lot to it.
Yeah. Sorry. Hopefully you can cut that up and
No, that's good.
get
I
some
don't want to cut
pieces
anything.
of gold
I
out
mean,
of that.
this is like, I'm scrolling through my questions here and I'm like, okay, we've just done that, done that. This, like how technology influences the next generation of players and coaches. That was it. I mean,
so that's actually a good question. Let's talk about that. So I think technology is going to get better. I think we'll get to the point where we can have fewer cameras.
Yep.
It's not going to be as expensive.
Yep.
I think we can get the data with fewer cameras, but that's not going to turn into 1 or 2 cameras anytime soon.
Yeah.
There's no way we're getting the golf club, tracking the golf club and the shaft without markers with any kind of accuracy anytime soon. I think we'll probably get close on some stuff, but there's 14 golf clubs in the bag. They all have different lengths and lofts and shafts. And even though the sticker on your iron shaft is the same for all your iron shafts, they're all different. So how is AI going to know that? Number one, how is it going to know, even if it could guess on that, that is moving at such a high speed at such a small increment that you need very high megapixel camera, very fast frame rate just to even get it. So it's even if video cameras can't get it without markers, then how is AI going to get it?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we'll get to the point where it's going to get closer.
Yeah.
And maybe for a recreational golfer, you might get kind of close. But even for the recreational golfer, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Are you
at that point?
Do you care? Do you want to get better?
Do you need that information?
What? But I think that recreational golfers, I'm convinced that recreational golf, I see the driving ranges full out there.
Yeah.
And they're out there just trying everything under the sun, self-diagnosing like crazy. They want to get better at golf. Like I see them, I'm going to try this time. I'm going to try this time. They're taking lessons. We're taking lessons now more than ever. Everybody's, AI is going to change. It's going to take the lessons away from coaches. Yeah. Well, I've never seen coaches busier in my life teaching this game.
Yeah, 100%.
So I just think there's still room for that. I don't think that, I think that technology going forward, we're still going to need somebody to really hands-on.
Yep.
That there's still that personal thing that AI will never be able to replace. That is just, there's too many subtle things happening.
Yep.
There's too much. There's just, our human brain is just so much better than that. It's so much more capable. And I just think that that human interaction is just still, it's going to be hard to replace that ever.
AI just doesn't have perspective either. Yeah. So like we can sort of diagnose a golf swing from, what we see, but the athlete might be trying to do that.
Yeah.
The perspective is that, or it might be that the athlete doesn't necessarily know what their body's doing. They're trying to do what they're doing. And that picture that it's not matching up.
Yep.
So there is always that disconnect. There's always that extra question. There's always that extra perspective that we're able to obtain that those those systems can't. So
Yeah. There's 14 clubs in the bag.
Yeah.
We swing them at different speeds, in different environments,
yeah,
in different conditions. I think golf instruction is safe.
good stuff. All right. I think it's safe to say that when we talk about like technology in golf, when we talk about the direction that golf's got with the amount of tours that are being played at the moment, with the amount of money that's being injected into our sport, it's safe to say that the advancement and the want and the need for this kind of technology is definitely there. The want and need for research grade insight is definitely there, especially at the top of the spear or the tip of the spear or the top of the levels. And I for one am just really excited to see where it's going to go here as well. So thank you very much for coming in, man.
Well,
It's
before
been
we
awesome.
stop, I'm going to ask you a question. Okay.
Yeah, hit me.
So it's all a bit. So I would like to learn more about you and how you work with Cam Smith, who's one of the best players to ever pick up a golf club.
Yeah.
Carl Phillips, this young kid that's out of Aussie. These Aussies are just freaking so good at golf. They're just mentally really strong, it seems like. And I don't know, they're just such nice guys. I just love Aussies. But how are you having so much success? Who are you? That's what I want to know.
Gosh, that's a long question. I think when I first started out in sport, I wanted to be an athlete. Didn't really have the goods, I don't think, to be an athlete back then. Probably a little bit lazy, didn't really have the mindset for it. Definitely wanted it, just probably didn't want it as much as other people who's had success. And so I always said that if I wasn't going to be an athlete, I'm going to work with athletes because I love the mindset. I love the competition. I love the ability to sort of get, down and dirty with, training, with getting granular with, different processes and workouts and, skill sets, and trying to push the boundaries of our physical limitations as well. And so when I worked in different sports in Australia, I realized very quickly that we have the best athletes on the planet and none of them are getting paid what they should be. And they're all getting driven into the ground at a very young age just because, we don't have the volume of people that the US did back in the day to be able to support these kind of industries. And so, we weren't getting paid much. I was working a whole bunch of time and had no time for anything else or anyone else, and sort of got burnt out very early in my career. And then golf came along and I got stuck into golf unknowingly. I've sort of said this in the past that I didn't really think it was a real sport back in the day, and then I got into golf, and then I was like, oh wow, these athletes are unbelievably talented. And so it sort of pushed me to get into it a lot more because I realized that I could potentially make a very good and positive change within these athletes processes, their lives and their careers, with what we can do from a strength and conditioning point of view, what we can do from a therapy point of view, what we can do from a sports science point of view, because at that point there wasn't really many people doing it. And
so how do you take somebody like me who's overweight, super inflexible? I can go out and shoot under par on a 6,500 yard golf course. I'm a good player.
Yep.
My body is killing me after the round of golf. It hurts to walk after I play golf. It hurts. I wake up the next morning and I'm sore.
Yep.
I can still play good golf though.
Yeah.
How much does this physical thing matter in the golf swing? Like in your world, like how much does this, you've invested so much money and you're pushing the envelope more than anybody I've seen. And I've seen everybody. Like, I feel like you're pushing the envelope in your assessment and how you want to take somebody through a process. Does it really matter that much? Or can I still be a good player?
I think to put it into perspective, you can go out and shoot 59 on a course that, you can get around, right? And because you're a good player.
Can't.
No, you might be able to.
I have not. But
you have the
I can play
ability
good golf.
to one day pull out an unbelievable round like most people do. Wherein lies the tricks of the trade of professionals is that they do it repetitively, day in, day out, week after week after week after year, in different conditions on different courses. And we have a certain amount of accumulative stress that plays out in a physical nature. So when we have different stresses, performance anxieties, fears, our physical volume and intensities that are increased during a tournament week. For someone like yourself, you're not necessarily susceptible to that because it's not exposure that you readily
Yeah.
come by. And so when you go out and play that pure round, it's unbelievable and it's really good. You might be in bed the next
Yeah.
week, because you're paying for it
I
because you
can't play
walked.
4 days.
Yeah.
I go to Bandon Dunes. I play 3 days in a row, four
Yeah.
days in a row, and I literally don't want to pick up a golf club for 2 weeks.
And that's the difference, is so that when you introduce physical interventions to try and help reduce fatigue,
Yeah.
so we're trying to make the body more resilient, we're trying to be able to give you a higher capacity and a ceiling that allows you to be able to shoot more consistently, more days in, days out, have a body that's not under duress half the time because it's squealing, because muscles are getting used and abused when they shouldn't, because they're being repetitively jammed into positions that they don't like.
Yeah.
And the golf is a one-sided sport.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And we're talking about symmetry, we're talking about thrust and sway and all the different forces, the sixth off on the body. When you've got repetitive usage, and hammering that into the ground on one side of the body, you're going to have, asymmetry.
Yeah.
And so when you look at therapy, when you look at strength and conditioning, when you look at all these different, modalities that we have to be able to make someone bigger, better, faster, stronger, therein lies the special sauce of, okay, that one day is really good, but how much did you, how much degeneration did you occur, in that specific round? Are you able to go back and back up the next day and the next day and the next day? So, whatever you shot, we could potentially get that,
Every
shave
day.
a couple of strokes off that game. And for the club pro out there, or someone who's just looking for to shave a couple of strokes off, all of these interventions are really easily accessible because if we do the right things, we pick the low hanging fruit, we make someone a little bit stronger, a little bit more stable, or we fix the backswing that with less sway,
And
or
I don't have
introduce
to
more
go
sway on the
lift. I don't
downswing.
have to go push 3,000 miles of barbells to get what I need to do. I mean, it seems
No.
like you get to where you need to go fast with your guys. It seems like.
And I think that these assessment methodologies have helped me jumpstart that
Yeah.
process, because beforehand you do a physical test, you do something that's very, very basic, like the TPI screen,
Yep.
right? How far can someone med ball throw
Yep.
from a seated position? Or, these are all very good tests for general populations, because like we said, that 2D camera that's only giving you 60 frames a second or
Right.
whatever it is it's fair, it's good, it's fine. But when you're actually trying to get something out of it, you do need to dive further into that that research process on discovery. So, if you're able to hop, skip, and jump, 2 to 3 steps ahead very quickly, you can make those groundbreaking changes within a body very quickly, because it's easy to point the finger at what's the most bang for buck change.
Yeah.
And so, strength and conditioning wise, it's easy to make someone stronger, but how do we make them stronger and more functional in a shorter space of time?
So one of the things I see, common things on gears with amateurs, is not so much tour players, but with amateurs is a lot of thrust, like
Yep.
a lot of extension and thrust. Is there something about the hip flexors or the psoas muscles internally in the hips, because we sit down on an airplane for 4 hours, or we're sitting in our car, we're typing, we're constantly like this. It seems like is it possible that just the older we get, the more our body just kind of all that, it seems like it's a lot, not so much the rotation of the shoulders, as much as it seems like just when the hips lock down like that, they just can't rotate, they can't extend, they stay in flexion too long.
Yep. In a nutshell,
When we're in this, like, so
yeah,
at least that's what I feel like, common back
yeah,
problems. But I feel like in my own game, like, it's super hard for me not to thrust towards the ball, and I have to
yeah,
consciously do it. But I fly all the time. Go diamond medallion, like a million miler guy. I fly crazy, and I seriously think that my hip flexors and all my internal hip muscles are just
yeah,
shot, or they're tight or something. Do you think could be how
yeah.
would that tie into my game of a common guy that sits down in his car too
Yeah.
long and under a desk too long and
I
things
mean,
like
you
that.
look at the position I've been in for like the last hour.
Yep.
Like, my legs up, my adductor's in a terrible place, my hips getting jammed up, and so like this is common for most people. They're in a desk, they're
Yep.
in the car,
Yep.
their T spine gets forward flexed in a position where they got hyperkyphosis or they're an upper crossed syndrome posture, and then the more they do that, the like it's so much harder to then get in an extended and rotated position, and so we start to lose range of motion.
Yep.
If we are constantly beating balls in one way and we're doing this, and then we're constantly in like a hip flex position, guess what's going to be allowed to shorten and weaken?
Yeah.
And so the things that we do to our body every day, they play out in the long run. And so the more exposure we have to these positions, the more our body's going to want to accommodate it, because our center of center of mass is different than our standing position, and our body's going to want to accommodate whatever position we're in, around that. And so in a seated position, if you're at a desk, every day of the week, and then you suddenly go to open out and try to rotate into this full, range of motion on a one side, it's very, very difficult for the body to just suddenly turn up with range of motion that it hasn't had all week.
Do you do a lot of that, like internal, those pelvic muscles seem like they're super important in golf swing.
Super
like,
important,
to me,
yeah.
like maybe more than
And
anything else,
and
possibly.
and a pelvic, a symmetrical pelvis is absolutely key to, those innate feelings where you look down and you want to see, evenness through left hip to right hip when you're looking at the ball, and the way that standing at address. If you're uneven, like if you're closed to the target, because you've got a pelvic rotation, because you haven't fixed it, before you've gone out and hit balls, that changes the club path too. That changes the way that your face, meets the ball at impact. And so when we look at, our tour players, the reason why we do all these pre-round checks on the table, the reason why we do, these, intermittent testing, sessions, is because we want to make sure that the one-sidedness of sport, or what they're doing every day of the week, isn't, putting them in a position that's going to ruin them long term.
Asymmetry, yeah.
And
So you're literally stretching these guys out every single day, before and after a round.
every single day.
Gosh,
Where
that would be amazing.
it's a
Fetch, I wish I could afford that.
yeah, I mean,
Oh my gosh, dude, what a blessing. Like,
it's correct. I saw Jed Morgan,
yeah,
back when he was on Live, was a phenomenal athlete, is a phenomenal athlete, and his left-handed swings were just as good as his right-handed swings, and he was sort of one of the most symmetrical people I've ever seen. Like Tim in here as well. I'm sure he's got some pretty even, or he's probably got the most symmetrical pelvis that is going around, based on the fact that he can swing both ways and quite efficiently and effectively. So
Jed hit the best golf shot I've ever seen any human hit in my life.
yeah,
It was a 230 yards out in a bunker with a lip, and he hit a cut on the green with a 4-iron. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not joking. That was one of the, like, how do you have to be so talented and so good physically to have a shot, to pull that shot off. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, you have to be so good physically and just strong
and ballsy, right?
Yeah,
to be able to believe in yourself to pull it off.
That was the craziest shot I've ever seen in my life. Never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot too.
Yeah,
I've seen my fair share of like good shots by the best players in the world. That was the greatest shot I've ever seen.
Nice.
And well, that's not true. Cam once hit a ball off of a cart path. His ball was on the cart path, and he chose not to drop it because there was no place to drop it. It was either on a drop this way or drop this way, and it was like 175 yards out. And he literally just like took his, I think it was a 7-iron off the cart path, hit it like 10 feet, and just picked it perfect off. I filmed it. I have it in my archive. That's one of the greatest shots I've ever seen.
I don't know if it's the same one, but he did the same thing in Bedminster. And we ended up winning that week.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Incredible.
It's just the balls to be able to play that
He's
shot.
He's hit some 7-woods. That 7-wood is like Excalibur, man. He hits that 7-wood so good.
I'd just be thinking about my wrists and the club hitting.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I'm really excited about what you guys are working on here. I am honored to even be a part of what you're working on and the players that you're working with and
So appreciative
Team
to have you here.
Rippers and
Yeah.
everything you're doing with Carl. And, I just think you're building something beautiful here. And I think everybody should come and see you. I really do. This is there's no reason there's no hiding. You're stretching guys out. You're making them stronger.
Yeah.
There's no hiding,
Trying to make them better golfers
I
and
love it. You're
shave a
making better
couple
golfers.
couple
Keep it
strokes
up.
off here and there.
Keep
So
it up.
I think if anyone, we should be able to provide some solutions
Yeah, absolutely.
from our assessment methodologies that we have in
Absolutely.
here, and that's what the aim is.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. Thank you
Yep.
very much for coming in,
Thanks, buddy.
and I look forward to our continued collaboration in the
Yes, me
future.
too. Me too. Me too, for sure. Go
Sweet.
Aussies. I love Aussies.